everybody. Welcome to the Star Wars podcast from Staten Island, New York. Wake up and smell the Tauntaun. I am your host, as always, John Maffio, doing it solo again today for another recap episode, Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian. It's called The Child, and we have a lot to go through. It's a little early. Again, we had an episode. I literally put out an episode a couple days ago, but the way they're scheduling the episode order and release for The Mandalorian, it's weird. So we had an episode 1 that debuted on Tuesday the 12th with Disney Plus, and now we have the second episode a couple days later. And then I think after this we're going to a weekly format until the last couple episodes we're going to do the same thing where it's a Tuesday Friday thing. But this is a shorter episode. It was a half hour long, jam-packed though with stuff to talk about. And to be honest, I've seen people saying they like the first episode better. I like this episode better. I think it's more concise and consolidated with a lot more going on. There's not a lot of plot. Again, it's kind of just a little mini swashbuckling journey of our main protagonist just trying to get from point A to point B, and he has some obstacles along the way getting to his goal, which is, I guess, bringing this... Spoiler alert. From here on out, every episode, by the way, is going to be full spoilers. I'll put it in the title. I'll put it in my descriptions everywhere. So if you're not watching the show and you don't want to know what's going on, don't go watch the show. Get Disney Plus, watch the show, and come back here and we can enjoy a nice, fresh cup of joe, nice, fresh cup of Tauntaun. It's very smelly, but it's also delicious, and it keeps you awake in the morning. And we'll have a fun discussion about it. It's so fresh. There are people posting pictures. Olivia Munn, I love you, but you posted a picture of the big reveal on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm just like, people who don't have Disney Plus, I guess it's a way to get people to go, ooh, I like that. I think that's adorable. Let me go see what that's about. But I don't feel comfortable talking about it without at least putting like a warning on it. So we're going to talk about this episode, The Child, it's called. So that's your spoiler. If you didn't already, you want to know what The Child is? Look up on Twitter. It's not hard to find, or go watch the show and come back. This episode is directed by Rick Famuyiwa. He was involved with the Flash movie before he left for creative differences, and he's done a couple other really cool things. He actually directed the movie Dope, which is one of my favorite movies of 2015. This episode is very well directed. We don't know what planet they're on, but I'm assuming it's Tatooine because you have the familiar desert area. You have Jawas, sand crawlers. I mean, there could be other planets that have similar terrains, but I'm just going to assume it's Tatooine for now. Also, apparently Pedro Pascal revealed in an interview the name of the Mandalorian, and his name is something, it's Dyn Djarin. So Din Djarin, which Din, like Jyn Erso from Rogue One. Cool name, if that's the case. I like it. Din, very simple to the point. His name is Din. Yo, Din, you gonna do the bounty, Din? Hey, yo, I got Din. Mr. Djarin, he's gonna take care of that for you. You're gonna get that egg, and he's gonna get out of here with the Yoda baby. So we get a lot more emphasis on the child this time. Obviously, Baby Yoda, as everybody's calling him now, because we don't have a name for him yet, or her. But yeah, Baby Yoda, a lot more emphasis on this character. Baby Yoda is adorable. It's cute. It's got those big eyes. And whenever he's trying to interact with our protagonist, the Mandalorian, I can't get enough of it. I'll get to it, but that moment where they're hanging out in that beautiful vista in the middle of the desert, and he's healing his wound, and the baby obviously having force powers, which I figured it would. Why would people? There was a reason why people want this thing, this creature. Why there's a bounty on it, and they know it has capabilities that things otherwise don't have, and it could be a very powerful thing to weaponize this force using creature. And the baby's obviously trying to help the Mandalorian and heal his wound, but it's a kind of really humorous and also adorable thing where the Mandalorian keeps trying to put the baby back in the pod. He's like, leave me alone, I got this. What are you trying to do? Why are you reaching out like that? But seeing little Baby Yoda like he's struggling to put his hand up and like try to help, he's like, I can't get enough of it. Also, it reminds me of Gizmo from the Gremlins, and that was one of my favorite characters growing up as a child. Like, it's just a really cute little thing with big ears and big eyes, and just kind of like, ooh. Like, again, Baby Yoda's adorable. I love him. I love her. I love it. The first big scene is the Mandalorian being ambushed by a couple Trandoshans and kind of just fighting them and killing them with his blaster. The blaster disintegrates people. That's crazy. It just kind of poof, and then poof. So this blaster, this weapon of his is very powerful. It could just disintegrate people, as we see. But yeah, so now we had Mandalorian protecting this little baby, and we see the tracker left behind by one of the Trandoshans. So we don't know if the guild put another bounty out on the Mandalorian for protecting this child, or if it's the same bounty on the kid, that they're all just going for this baby and they don't even know. But yeah, I can't emphasize enough how beautiful this episode was. Last episode had incredible vistas too and incredible cinematography. This one's no different. I just love seeing these vistas during sunset and sunrise on the desert. Just seeing what we'll see later when the sandcrawler is going about its way, traveling from place to place, and you get like these grand wide shots, and even like the close-up shots of like our main characters. Like it all looks so nice, just so crisp and clean, and also at the same time really dirty because we're getting that New Hope feel. I was also trying to figure out for the first few minutes of this episode whether this pod the baby was in was just kind of floating around on its own, or if the baby was controlling it, or if the Mandalorian kind of put like a tracker on it to allow it to like follow his way. But once we get to the sandcrawler chase scene and we see Baby Yoda in the pod kind of like urgently flying behind him, I get the feeling now that Baby Yoda can actually just control this thing, and he has been controlling this thing this whole time. It's been alive for 50 years, so it has some sense of what it is and where it is, and it's out there eating space frogs, and it's cognizant of the fact that it could use this force power to help others. Obviously, as we saw before, when it was trying to help the Mandalorian cauterize his wound or help heal his wound. But yeah, speaking of the Sandcrawler, we do get Jawas in this episode, and I'm a big fan of Jawas. Ooh, teeny! Sexy Jawa impression in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, teeny. We see the Jawas tearing apart the Mandalorian ship to the point where it looks like it's almost beyond repair. They just like ripped it apart, stealing all of the parts from the ship that they wanted, that they thought were valuable, because Jawas like to steal valuable things, and they get back on the Sandcrawler and run away on their, and then that's where we get the chase scene. And it's kind of like very unflattering, very challenging and difficult for our main character to like take care of this situation, getting onto the Sandcrawler, climbing up the Sandcrawler, and just trying to like get his shit back. He gets to the top and he gets zapped and he falls very far onto the ground, on his back, on his ass, and he wipes out for a minute and wakes up, and obviously they're far gone now. So he has no choice but to go back to the Ugnaught, Nick Nolte's character, to request assistance. There was no negotiations here because the first thing that our protagonist did was disintegrate some of these Jawas. And Nick Nolte even says, they really don't like you for some reason. And then the Mandalorian goes, well, I did disintegrate some of them, in like a very sarcastic way. So I like that we have some personality interjected into this character, that he's just like, yeah, I kind of killed some of them, so they would be mad at me. It's just interesting to me to see this protagonist of ours, the Mandalorian, who we already see visually how he looks, so I guess there's an intimidation factor to him, and we find him formidable based on the first episode, but based on this episode, this supposedly formidable opponent, or character, or bounty hunter, whatever you want to call him, against these Jawas, proves to be defeated. So to see that defeat, it kind of puts you in a place where, like, in a humbling place where, okay, he's not going to have an easy time taking care of these bounties, and especially just this one bounty alone, which will obviously open up the world to bigger things as we get into further episodes. But it's like, wow, so it isn't going to be easy. And I also think it's funny that the Mandalorian is surrounded by tiny characters. You got this little baby, you got this little Ugnaught who's also tiny, and you have all these Jawas who are all tiny. Moving on, Nick Nolte, Ugnaught, and the Mandalorian get back to the Sandcrawler, and they're going to attempt to negotiate now. As I mentioned before, the Ugnaught wonders why they're so pissed off at him, and he's like, yeah, well, I killed some of them. And then he's requested to put down his weapons, and then he says the line, I'm a Mandalorian, weapons are a part of my religion. Weapons are part of my religion. There is a lot of friction on both sides here. He doesn't want to put down his weapons, but he accepts. They sit down, they try to talk. The Jawas are talking shit about the Mandalorian, saying that he sounds like a Wookiee. He takes out his flamethrower and almost tries to burn a couple of them to a crisp because he gets so pissed off. So, yeah, not the best of terms here on both sides. So the Jawas say, in exchange for the ship parts, he has to go find the egg. What is the egg? We don't know. We just hear it being shouted 100 times as we now transition into them traveling to this space. Well, I got excited there. As we see them traveling to this space on this planet where this egg supposedly is, and he has to take a little bit of a walk, and he brings Baby Yoda, which I don't blame him, because who knows what the Jawas would do with him if he left the Jawas alone with Baby Yoda. He finds this little hole, and this kind of reminded me of Shelob the spider in Return of the King, when Sam goes into the little cave to save Frodo. You get a little bit of buildup, you see some bones, and you're like, all right, so obviously something's wrong here. And then we see this giant horned creature just shoo him out of the hole, and we get our fight sequence, this muddy fight sequence that proves to be, again, very challenging for our protagonist. He just can't catch a break. He's having a shitty day. Very shitty work day. This horned creature is like a giant hairy bull, and it sees something, it'll charge it. It almost tries to kill Baby Yoda, but Baby Yoda jukes him out like Saquon Barkley on the scrimmage line, and then get a couple more moments of the Mandalorian like being dragged around, and he's not doing a good job of taking care of this. So he gets to the point where he loses his weapons and he has nothing else at his disposal but a little knife. So he just kind of gets on his knees. He kind of just bends there and just goes, all right, I might die right now, but like, that's all I got right now. Then we get this moment that I kind of saw coming, but I'm glad that it did happen, because I speculated in the last episode that this Baby Yoda probably has Force powers, and again, the Empire probably wants to weaponize it. That's why we have this scientist that's working with Werner Herzog who wants it alive. So yeah, this baby, who's 50 years old, by the way, if you don't remember from the last episode, reaches out, uses the Force, and makes this horned creature float for a significantly long time, honestly. Like, it's like 10, 15 seconds before passing out. And our Mandalorian character is just amazed at what's happening right now. And before he can really do anything, yeah, the baby passes out. The horned creature falls back down to Earth on the surface. And then Mando just kind of like just impales the creature in the eye and the side of the face and kills it. He gets the egg. They bring it back to the Jawas. And the Jawas, who really wanted this egg for whatever reason, I thought maybe they wanted to hold it and harvest it. No, these Jawas are like crackheads. They just slice the... Again, I'm just really excited. The Jawas slice the egg open and just eat the yolk like a bunch of crackheads. It's kind of like they all like dig at it like, ooh, yolk, yolk, yolk. I mean, the yolk did look pretty good. I'm not going to lie. I would eat that yolk. It looked pretty gooey, which I'm not a fan of, but if you put that on a pan, if you made a hard-boiled horned creature egg, it'd probably be really good. I would eat that shit. Mando gets his ship parts back. Ugnaught, Nick Nolte, and Mando travel back to the ship, and we get a little montage sequence of them building the ship back together. And before we know it, boom, ship's back to normal. The Ugnaught and Mando part ways. Mando keeps trying to find ways to thank him, offers him part of his bounty reward. Mando offers him a job as a part of his crew on the ship, and Ugnaught goes, I'm done with servitude. I kind of did that thing. But I like where I am here, but thank you. All I can offer is my thanks. And they're like, yep, thanks. All right, it's been real. Deuces. If this is the end of Nick Nolte's character for this season or just in general, I'm cool with it. It was a nice mini arc. Before we end talking about the whole Nick Nolte character, though, until whenever he comes back, if he comes back at all, I do like how they're trying to understand the Force. Because in their eyes, the Jedi Purge happened decades and decades ago. The Mandalorian and this Ugnaught don't understand what just happened with this Baby Yoda. They don't understand really what the Force is. So they're just absolutely bamboozled and confused. So that's something that's definitely going to come in hand later when we learn more from the Empire side of things with Giancarlo Esposito's character, who looks like he's a leading character of the remnants of the Empire after the Return of the Jedi. I also mentioned for the first chapter that certain sequences with Ludwig Göransson's music didn't really work for me in tone with what was happening on screen. The music in this episode was on key, on tempo the entire way through, and I really loved how the main theme kicked in for the sequence of them repairing the ship and him departing this planet, going off to find the guild again. And I like the gentle part of the theme when it cuts to Baby Yoda waking up again, and I just, that felt like Star Wars to me. I know a lot of people are saying they haven't really felt the music, thought it was very different. But anything that's not John Williams is going to feel a lot different. John Williams is the glue. He's the connective tissue that really brings the magic together. But Ludwig Göransson's theme and his motifs worked very, very exceptionally well for me in this episode. And again, as I mentioned before, if there's some kind of past with the Mandalorian involving family, I'm kind of seeing a growing fondness of Baby Yoda with the Mandalorian character. He's concerned. He's trying to wake him up because he's still passed out. And it's been like half a day or more since he passed out. Trying to help. It really does save his life, honestly. The baby saves his life as he tried to help heal his wounds earlier in the episode where he was really struggling because he can't reach. He does save his life. So I see something happening there. I still think he's going to bring in Baby Yoda for his reward, but obviously there's going to be more conflict when he gets back to the planet with Carl Weathers, and if we get introduced to Giancarlo Esposito in the next episode. Now the floodgates are opened up. Don't know what's going to happen in the next episode, but I assume he's going to get back to the planet. They're going to have more conversations. We're going to get introduced to Gina Carano's character, maybe Giancarlo Esposito's character, maybe more of the Empire, like that moment in the trailer where we see all the stormtrooper heads helmets on spikes. Maybe we see like more of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the story opens up now, since we're really getting into it. But yeah, again, to reiterate my thoughts from earlier in this video, I really liked this episode. I liked it a hell of a lot more than the first one. It's more condensed, it's more action packed, but I just really liked the rhythm of it all. I really like the flow of it. The pace is definitely going to slow down more going into the next episode, I'm sure. But I really enjoyed seeing the Mandalorian struggle, be defeated, get his ass kicked, and seeing more of like this development grow between him and Baby Yoda, and also watching this friendship being forged between Mandalorian and the Ugnaught, Nick Nolte character. And that wraps up my thoughts on episode 2, chapter 2, The Mandalorian, called The Child. I want to know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it better or worse than the first? Do you think there's more of like an identity happening now that we have had 2 episodes? Do you see more of where this is headed? Do you like where this is headed? Do you like the action sequences? What do you think of the Jawas? What do you think of the horned creature? Would you eat the yolk in that hairy egg? Do you think it was delicious? Would you eat it? These are the important questions, guys. I asked the important questions. Thank you to everybody who watched. If you stuck around the entire episode, if you just clicked on this video and watched 5 minutes of it, just anybody who decided to come watch this, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to go to my Twitter page, Wake Up Smell the Tauntaun, but it's at Morning Tauntaun. You'll find it there, where I talk about all Star Wars things there. You can also follow me at MaffmanJones. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment here, and ring that bell so you always be notified of a new Star Wars episode or just anything on the MaffmanJones channel. It's always fun talking Star Wars, and I'll be back with episode 3 of The Mandalorian, and if any news drops between now and then, I'll be talking about it too. And news isn't like anything. Could be about the movies, anything big. This Jedi Fallen Order came out, and I bought it for PS4. I'm going to play some of that, and I'll definitely put some of my impressions on the game if I get 3, 4, 5 hours in the matter. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to play it, but I'll definitely throw some impressions out there once I get the chance to, and probably I'll do a little preliminary thing before talking about Mandalorian Episode 3 for the next episode of this Wake Up Smell the Tauntaun, depending on how far I get. But yeah, thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you always. Ciao. Bye-bye.